6:01. This is Wednesday, February 12th. The Wareham Community Preservation Committee, we have a quorum. Call roll, please.
Sandy Slavin.
Lester.
Sam Corbett.
Bob Blair.
Sherby Worthen.
Thank you. Does everyone have a copy, or have they had a chance to read the minutes which were sent out earlier by Sherby? I have extra copies if you need to reference anything.
I reviewed the minutes, the meeting online, and my only question is, why were we talking about parking in an onset as part of the Hammond School assessment? I was surprised at the topic.
Oh, yeah, you know, that probably shouldn't have been in the minutes, but it seemed relevant when you were talking about school, and then
No matter what we talk about, always parking comes up.
it always comes up.
But it's
It's
just
like-
not part of the grant
Well, I
request,
know,
and I
but we
was
talk
quite
about,
surprised.
also talk about parking.
Yeah, you went off topic quite a few times, but I take a motion, we accept the minutes of
Okay.
Do you want me to delete
February
that?
3rd, no.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? We have 5-0-0 on the minutes. So, let's talk about the applications that we heard about in a special Monday meeting last week. First on the agenda is Wareham Land Trust. If anyone needs a refresher on what that is, or if you're more comfortable that you understand and recall the discussion, I'd entertain comment, input on the application.
Anything to say, Sandy?
I'm concerned about the amount, I really am. We're asking to take all of it, just about all of it, to come from us. And that is a big nut to crack in case some other piece of property could come up that, just a lot of money.
We have enough to cover if anything else came up.
But I'm concerned that, yeah.
Well, I guess the kind of the relevant thing with that is, so just if you could tell us again what the balances, what kind of balances we're working with right now
Oh,
in the account.
let me find my note from last.
We're slightly under 4, I think. I think we're 3 and some low number.
I've been using it for, it's close enough.
Yeah,
So we have plenty of money left. It's a good use of funds, and they are looking for outside funds as well.
I thought it was something in the 3-3, but that's picking it. 3-1.
at the end of FY '24, we had, why don't I have another page of this? I'm not as prepared as I should be, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have enough background on the previous requests, but what's the largest that we've agreed to?
Well, we've had to take loans out to do the purchase of Tremont Nail, to do the restoration of Tremont Nail contamination. We had to take a loan out to do the golf course.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there anything else?
Million.
And that
What about
golf
the
course was,
Sunset at Park over there? Didn't we give
They-
them
no,
a million?
we gave them $1 million without
Yeah.
taking a loan.
Right.
But I guess your question
So
is,
they had.
When you say take a loan, where are we
we
taking a
had to
loan?
take, the town had to go out and get a loan
Get a bonded.
from a bond from the bank.
Because we didn't have enough funds in the,
Or we chose to go that way,
Million was
as
a
opposed to
chunk.
stripping everything.
okay.
I don't
Let's see.
I don't recall the,
$1
We had the Bay Park was just over $1 million, and that was cash,
million too.
yeah. We had the Tremont Nail cleanup, which is 1.4 million, which was bonded. Let me just go down.
Lope's coming up,
Lopes was 700 and somewhat thousand.
right? Yeah, last year.
That-
750.
they do
The
have
Wee
other
Wee
money
Antique
there.
Ridge, we bought that for 430,000 cash. The 4 units at the Agawam Housing, we did cash for 650,000.
I mean, the point is, we've done deals that are larger than this on a regular basis. We have plenty of money left. It's a good cause, it's 20 acres, budding other
Does
conservation.
that give you a hint as to,
Yeah.
but this is the most, this is a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think as they explained last week, I think that this is a market issue. And so the exact amount is sort of having latitude within the marketplace.
What was the appraised value of the property?
1.3.
1.3?
So I think that as we heard last week, negotiations haven't finalized, so we don't really know what the offer is.
Didn't I see something come
They
through the
have-
mail a couple
yeah.
days ago?
Should I come up?
Yeah, come on up,
Yeah.
Nancy.
And do one thing also for me.
Sure.
I'll explain the funding that you're applying for.
Yeah, that's-
The other funding, not this funding.
Right, I understood that
Okay.
concept, thank you. The other funding that we would be applying for are through the state, which would be the Conservation Partnership Grant, which is, only land trusts and nonprofits can apply for.
And how much?
I'm not sure what the exact match is on these days, but there is a cap probably around 450, 500,000 on that. We've used that before, we used it, we got money back on Marks Cove,
You did.
we did.
We don't have it back.
Well,
The only money we got back was the Pine Barrens.
no, what you, actually, you did, because town meeting had voted 250, and you only end up paying 125,
Is that for Marks Cove?
yes.
Sorry.
Can I ask
Oh, sorry.
a question about the grants that you're
Yeah.
applying for? Are those specific earmarked grants, or do you have discretion on those grants? So that if you get the grant, is it earmarked for
It
this
is
specific?
specific for
So
that project.
if you get the grant, that is in effect off the top of the of whatever the purchase amount is.
Right.
So that immediately increases the return that the town will get.
Right, it's not a return, it's that we don't ask for reimbursement for
Right.
that
Right,
amount.
right,
Right,
exactly.
so it
exactly.
stays in the kitty,
Right,
and,
it's a grant reduction.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We have Mark Cove Vista, we have a balance that you haven't used, 137,000.
Right.
Will you be using it at all?
No,
All right, how about Sawyer property? There's a balance of 6720 left on the Sawyer property.
no. The Marks Cove is closed out, we have the conservation restriction on that, that was already sent to you guys. If you don't have it, I'll let you know.
Oh,
I
sure
can
will.
give it to you.
Point of order,
Point of
that's
order,
not
yes.
on the
Right.
agenda.
Right.
I
We need
agree.
to get back to the agenda.
Well, the idea is that they say they have returned the money. We haven't got the money back because we haven't been told the projects are
That
done.
had nothing to do with the project we're talking about.
Okay?
Okay,
Right,
Back on
But
topic.
except that there's a good chance there'll be money coming back.
right.
I mean,
Right,
it's just an
right.
indication that
right,
you make a big effort.
We know them, we've been working with them from day one. They've done a great job.
Yeah.
Make a motion, we accept the application from Wareham Land Trust.
Have we
Second?
done with discussion?
I didn't think so.
I'll withdraw, but I want to get back on topic.
All right. You have one grant you could possibly get to 400 or 500,000, any other grants?
There is a grant that the town is eligible for. I believe it would be, we would have to write it, we could write it with Derek. It's a municipal vulnerability grant. So we could, it looks like those may or may not be available at this point, but we certainly would try for anything that's available there. We've also have just re-upped our online capabilities by renewing our membership in Grant Station. So, and we have a grant writer, a new person on our board of advisors who had been a grant administrator at MIT, and she is ready to go.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. So we are looking, we are gonna be doing local fundraising as well. We also, Elise had sent out a new PowerPoint. She had updated that with the locust maps that you had asked for. And we have signed the purchase and sale on that property, and I believe she sent that to you as well.
Not Elise.
Alex,
Alex.
sorry. There-
From,
well,
from
you know
the
what?
that dark past, I
No,
know,
no,
it must be hard on
it's-
you because they were the
it's not-
same.
It's not that dark a past, because Elise had done a lot of the legwork for
Right.
this project.
Mhm.
Well, Elise and Alice kind of roll
I
off
know,
the tongue.
exactly. Little-
Yeah, I know.
I'm just teasing.
No, yet, and you're absolutely right to call me on that. I've done
That's
it
fine.
more than once, right to her face, which is bad.
All right,
Yeah, but we also got a, letter of support today from Gary Buckminster, Natural Resources, so that's on the way too.
And you're on the agenda for next Wednesday for CPC to hold a CR.
We are, yes.
Now,
Um,
so I did hear that maybe 12 houses could be put on here. How did you ever come up with 12 with a 150-foot frontage on Cremisa?
It's the
I was
way,
surprised.
I was surprised, but not really. That was done by Mark Trurin, who did the, appraisal on that.
Mhm.
And when you look at the ADU units, it's possibly 24.
Right.
But, it's like, what do you,
Cremisa is, at that point, is really skewed towards town, towards Marks
Mhm.
Cove, and has a fairly wide to the water going the other way. So it's very conceivable that you could get 12.
Well-
Because they're stacked
yeah,
from the street, and then they're stacked, heading towards the Weeby Antic.
This be town sewer or wells?
No,
No,
it's wells.
town, well, it has to be
Well,
wells.
Yeah, because
It
it's
has
too-
to be septic
That's
systems, Title V's, because the
Yeah.
septic system
Because of
does
the
not.
land.
And then that'd be very difficult,
It would be tough.
real
And
difficult.
then there'd be flooding, because we've seen where the flooding comes onto the property, and it comes in quite far.
Yeah,
So
that
it's a
is
great
at least a
area
VE
for-
14 zone, most of it, which means the houses have to go up at least 17, 18
Actually-
feet high.
70 and a half.
Most of it's AE, surprisingly.
There's a section very
There
close.
there is a rim around
Once
the
you get really
property.
close.
AE close to the road, but VE closer to the marsh.
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
And there is something pending in the state of Massachusetts that will not allow any building in VE zones.
Well, there's a lot of natural benefits to this, in terms of, storm mitigation, absorption,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. What's the motivation from the seller?
There's
I mean,
no,
maybe that's none of my business,
well,
but,
the motivation is that it's been in the family for generations. The current owners, there's 5 siblings. Some want the land to stay in conservation, some need the money. So there's actually a bigger chunk of land. The ones who want land and conservation or a place to build a house, they've already carved those out. And this is what is for the siblings who are gonna sell.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the family has been friends of the town for forever.
Since forever,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I get that. I just didn't know if there was some type of development that was proposed that they're trying to stop or.
It's an internal family.
Okay.
It's getting sold, whether it goes for conservation or for development is up to us being able to raise the funds and save it within, for the benefit of the town,
Yeah.
which,
And the property left is gonna be more valuable.
oh, absolutely.
And it raises property values.
Exactly.
And the neighbors are working with the owners to make some non-conforming lots conforming, so they're adding to their property to make it conforming, which is kind of.
lot-
unheard of.
1007 is going to be going to be a chunk taken out of it? Because it says that 1007 is 20 acres.
Yes,
But it's going to be redirected to include lot 3. So lot 4 is all of 1001 and part of 1007.
right.
And those lots that are on the Weequahic Riverside are nothing but marsh, correct?
Correct. Correct,
None of that is buildable.
right.
So as you go closer to Cremisa Road, you got more upland. So
Yes.
whatever homes could be up
Yeah.
to Cremisa Road could very well be out of the AE zone, or maybe raise the house about 3 feet
Right.
with a pile of soil or something like they've done off of
Right.
other houses down there. Now, I'm gonna ask a question. I am a member of the Wareham Land Trust. Is anybody else?
Well,
Is-
we all are members, or, I mean, you must be
One-
paying dues,
I
not
mean,
being
no.
on a board.
I'm paying dues.
Oh, yeah.
Is anybody on the board for the Wareham Land Trust?
Because they have to
Is this
recuse.
property close to anybody else? Does anybody own property close to this purchase?
Is there any conflict of interest?
That's what I'm trying to get to without saying it, thank you.
It's okay
I
to
just
say it.
wanted, is there any conflict of interest between being on the board of the land trust? Being a member is just a member. We have no financial
Right.
you got our dues and you got our
Yeah.
time and that's about it.
There's no private enormment.
Okay, just wanting to make sure,
Really?
because
Yeah.
it might very well come up at town meeting as to,
Right,
is there anybody who's gonna gain from this? And yes, then all the neighbors are gonna gain from this, because this is gonna be put into conservation land, and it's always nice to have undeveloped
Yeah.
land in your back door, in your backyard.
and, the part of the commitment that the land trust has made is, once the land is acquired, to have a parking area so that anyone and everyone can go down there and enjoy it. There's amazing, birds activity down in those
And already
marshes.
trails, actually.
And
And
there's-
trails,
yeah.
and you just be updating them or whatever it is.
Right.
Now, the property would be identified as a CR with passive recreation.
Right,
If I say passive recreation includes Bisbee Golf Course,
no,
No,
that's
ATVs.
active recreation.
I'm walking. Is that any different than walking a trail?
Yes.
How? It's not motorized. I'm just trying to figure the difference, because we have a group of people trying to find a place for a Frisbee golf course, and this is a nice piece of land,
It is a nice piece of land.
and you like to keep it nice.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, come town meeting, there's gonna be that question that has to be asked, is can anything else be used in this land other than trails?
It is nature study, it's, habitat protection,
Glad you mentioned
Flood
that.
mitigation.
flood mitigation.
I have a follow-up question when you're done.
You know, if you want, if somebody wants a Frisbee golf course that bad, then we need to sit down, they can come to us, and we can try to work with them to figure out where and how to get that.
Just,
How large is a Frisbee golf course?
I don't know.
I've never heard of a Frisbee golf.
Oh,
course.
yeah.
think about a golf course and
Well,
half the size.
there isn't a specified, I mean, it's like any little golf course, you can make 9 or 18 holes, and it's based on having trails through woodland. They try and do the minimum amount of alteration
Mhm.
of the woodlands, but it is people running through, its active use of
Mhm. And it's clearing, I was one out in, middle of the state, I forget one of the state parks out there. And the size of the areas where the, poles are, the
Baskets.
containers are, the
Baskets.
baskets,
Mhm.
And it would be
are
hard,
big.
it would be hard to restrict access once you open it up, because frisbees often go where they're not supposed to go. So, you know,
I just brought it up
Using it too.
I know,
because
I know,
and you're saying passive recreation.
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, and you have to think about the owners too. I mean, the owners are selling it to us to put it in conservation, not to have a
Right.
Frisbee park.
I mean, I think that,
installed.
I mean, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, but if you were to, if this were to be granted, it doesn't negate a discussion between you and someone who wanted to examine the possibility of Frisbee. But that is not part of, doesn't necessarily have to be part of the grant. That can be,
I've never heard any talk in town about Frisbee Park.
I guess you haven't
Josh.
been to any of the open space or Minot Forest meetings.
No, I have
It's
other
been
meetings to go to.
3 years of talking about
yeah,
it.
they're working on it, they're trying to find a place, and and I appreciate that. I mean, it's a unique recreation, but it's not passive recreation.
Right.
Mhm.
It's about as active.
I just
Trail.
asked the question.
Okay, Bob, you said you had something else?
Yeah, I was just looking at the, it says, none of the property except perhaps a very small area near the salt marsh is classified as priority habitat of rare species. Cause that'll be important if you had, cause I have to deal with this a lot where I work. Northern long-eared bat, the eastern box turtle, anything that's listed species in Massachusetts would be protected, and apparently that's been taken care of as far as you know.
Yes, and the, most of what is in that area, are the water birds, the ducks and,
Well, I guess what I'm getting at
Yeah.
is, if it were an area of concern, then that would prevent any wholesale harvesting,
yes,
which
Yes.
would prevent
disc
any
golf,
type of disc golf
right.
Or
almost,
homes.
almost anything else.
Mm.
Yeah, oddly enough, not necessarily, but
Yeah,
Conservation's
It
very
could.
strong about
it should be,
interfering
Yeah.
with habitats.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, especially with, you know, things like turtles, like box
Mhm.
turtles, and that is actually a habitat that has opportunity to change. And so, you know, that, we've seen endangered not box turtles, but other turtles in that area that were not supposed to be there.
Right.
So we've reported it as such, so. I guess my input, my take on this is, and it's probably more in keeping with Sam's, yes, this is a lot of money, but the applicant is seeking funds which would be used in lieu of the full grant. This is a topic that is right in our strike zone as an organization. And I think that it's worthy of being presented to the town as given to us. That, you know, that I don't think we do the town any favors if we try and reduce the grant, because the grant is your best estimate of what the market is gonna allow you to do, and you're gonna do whatever you can do to reduce that obligation with other funds.
Make sure at town meeting that comes up strong
That is your.
early on.
It is, we have always tried to make a point that the approval by the town is a very significant influencer for the state grants. They want to see that there's the support of the community. So that's a model that has worked well.
Well, I'm just
in the
saying,
past. Yes.
I try, if I'm doing a presentation, I try to answer the questions before they get asked.
Oh, I agree. Again, it's a matter of Alex's style, whatever. This is the first application that she's brought forth.
Right.
So it's like,
Testing
keep
the
saying, okay,
waters.
you know, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. So we're working,
Practice.
Don't be afraid of the amount.
exactly.
Do not fear that amount.
Well, that's the thing is, find me another piece of land with 2,100 feet of river frontage, and for 1.3 million, and we'll talk about it. I mean, where else in Wareham are we gonna find a piece of property like that anymore?
All right,
The state's willing to cut down everything in town. They've made that quite clear. They will wholesale, 1,000 acres, not a problem.
Right.
They've approved,
I,
let's see, 19 so far, 6 more in front of us.
I get it, I get it,
State talks out both sides of their mouth.
yeah.
In support of that, when do you wanna vote, at the end of the meeting, when we talk about everything?
yes,
Okay,
so let's move on.
I
to-
have no more questions on this
Any more
project,
questions? We'll-
but I do have a request. Nancy, can you get us an email or something indicating that the Sawyer property is complete and that we could return the $67.20 to our account?
I will tell you that right now we are still waiting. It's complete on our end from what we think, but the state is still reviewing the conservation
Okay,
restriction on
So there
that.
could be some more money coming out?
There shouldn't be.
Okay, then we have for the Marks Cove Vista, 137,265 for the Marks Cove Vista.
Mhm. Yes, and we are not going to put any more
Okay,
requests in
so if
for-
you could email me or
I can.
us indicating that these funds are no longer needed so we can return them to our pot.
And that's good to bring up in the presentation.
You
Well, I
can
think
do
we
that.
might wanna go back
you've
and
done
find out
that.
how often we've returned funds or
Exactly.
not used funds that we've asked for, and make a list of that and let people know that,
Right.
you know, for
Well,
this property,
that's
we've
gonna
done
help.
that for this
Yeah.
one.
The only time we got money back was on the Pine Barrens. Money after we paid the bill, the grant came in.
Yeah.
As opposed to not using everything you were
Right.
granted, that's a
That
different
was
thing.
different, it was
Yeah.
a different,
Yeah.
that was a federal pot.
Yeah,
But yeah.
very similar to what you're looking at, the possibility
Right.
here is a grant after the fact.
And I
Well,
think,
it-
at town meeting,
Mhm.
that's a distinction without a difference, because what they wanna know is that you are actively seeking and receiving funds which overlap with the things that you ask for from us, and that the town doesn't have to spend that money, more
Right.
money because of that. That's what they wanna hear,
Mhm.
Right.
not the details per se.
We're a partner in this.
Right, right.
This is for the benefit of the general public.
I think Patrick hit it nail on the head, said this is in our strike zone.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's move on and talk about Swift's Beach. Again, has everyone had a chance to review? Do they recall Derek Sullivan's presentation? This is, as one of the things that I recall is that based on their presentation, they were actually going to go back and look at any aspects of the project that they may think was underfunded.
I believe he's asking for less money than he needs.
Yeah.
Right.
Because every time we get in this situation, there was a parking lot, there was a stand, there was ice cream, they dig it up and they find pipes and they find asphalt. I think we should up it a little bit.
But
For
he's
that
not
reason.
going to review, he's not gonna remove that concrete slab that had been part of the parking lot.
I know, I'm saying, whenever we get down to that area specifically, and start digging, we find stuff, we found a bunch of pipes. Even down Main Street between, coming from that gas station, they
Well,
started
that
digging.
was a horrible mess.
I know, I mean, just
But
saying,
that had nothing to do with CPC funding.
I know, this does. And, you know, I think we should increase it to 2. That's my opinion. And Derek spoke the following evening in a meeting that they've been working on this, massive support from the neighbors that we had at the last meeting, that he's iffy on if there's enough.
Now, why wouldn't the neighbors like it? What happens is somebody like me can no longer go down there and park and look at Buzzards Bay at the end of this driveway. I'm being prevented from doing that.
Today, you are.
No, I can drive down there, park and look, I have to turn around and drive back out.
Right, you can't really park, you could stop for 5 minutes, I mean, but that's the
But there's,
agenda.
nobody's ever come back to me after 15 minutes saying, move your car.
Right, but because I do the same thing, but I'm just saying that that's not the legal, it says no
I
parking.
know that, but I'm still in my car, I
No
haven't left it,
long-term
I'm
parking.
idling.
Right,
But the
Short-term
point is that
volunteers.
now, nobody can do that unless you walk there. There's no parking for non-residents in the area. So you really are limiting the town of Wareham residents, other than those that live in Swiss Beach, access to walk down there, drive down there, and look down Buzzards Bay. Yes, you can look at Buzzards Bay down at Swift's Nick. Yes, you can look at down at the other parking lot, but it's not the view you get here.
yeah.
And I'm just concerned that there could very well be somebody in town and saying, hey, wait a minute, you mean tell me I can't drive there? I'm handicapped, I can't walk that distance to sit at the bench that's at the bench or benches I'm gonna put in.
I brought that up
Right.
Yeah.
at last week's meeting, was, this has never been a parking proposal. It was an area to drop off, and the whole plan is to make it ADA compliant.
Once you
So,
drop off.
once you, yeah, so there is an area to drop
But I'm
off and make
handicapped.
it ADA.
I am dropping myself off. How
Okay.
can I park?
They don't have
There's
that.
no parking there now, it's not
Well,
legal.
But if I was handicapped and I drove down there, I could got out of my car and sat on the bench. I can't do that anymore if I'm handicapped.
You're right.
The car has to go away.
The car has-
Take the car away, and you could still
I'm
sit on
driving
the
the
bench.
car, I got no place to park it,
Yeah.
you can't put it next to the pump station.
And so nothing that they are doing negates a subsequent application to make handicap parking and to make space. It does not have to be included in this proposal, because what they're doing with this proposal is a lot of things that relate to handicap but don't relate to parking.
And also restoration.
Right, it's restoration, so that,
Restoration is a huge
and I
part
think
of it.
that's a really valuable
The
thing
only
to.
thing we're gonna do is remove the tarmac.
Say that again?
No, I
Only
think
thing we're
there's a-
doing is removing the pavement,
Non-porous.
removing the pavement.
I think there's a path, I think there's a path, right?
There's
No.
a path and they're also bringing
Yes.
material.
Right, I think there's a path.
There's no
there.
path,
I think there's a path that
No.
that's right through here, right?
Proposed pathway,
Yeah, there's a proposed pathway.
the dark,
You don't see it on this one.
And
but it's only along the walkway.
It is, it isn't,
Because honestly, that whole area is accessible across the bricks, the boulders. You can walk all along the beach. There's nothing,
so if
so
you can't walk.
then you don't do it at all. And
Well,
even
that's
if
what
you
this
were to,
pathway is for, is,
But-
it's a,
but it does,
Wheelchairs.
that pathway doesn't go onto the beach.
right.
okay, you're right.
But if they do put mobility mats, someone
talked
has
about
to
that.
say what happened with the mobility mats they put it at a Little Harbor, they put at Onset, Shell Point. I think they got so covered with sand, they weren't usable.
couldn't find.
That's a
So there has
maintenance
to
issue.
be an issue of really how far down. I don't see anything here where the mobility mats show up on this plan. So conservation doesn't know what to do with the mobility mats,
Other
they're
than the
talking.
pathway, it does
Other
show
than
on the
the pathway.
pathway.
Other than the pathway.
So,
But
I
that
mean,
doesn't
how
get
far
on
do you
the
take
beach.
it? Do you make the beach entirely ADA as well? Do you put special swim platforms? I mean,
Yeah,
you can go as far as you want. You
yes.
can ask them to reapply and ask for more money.
Yeah.
So, so let's think about this though. I think, let's think about this in terms of the long-term use, not just a one and done on everything. So this is a credible rehabilitation of the beach. It cleans up the beach, it cleans up non-handicap, a lot of the non-handicap access barriers that are there today. Next fall, we would encourage the town to submit a second, if this is approved, and just, and deal with your issue, deal with the mobility issue more specifically. And there's no doubt that if the town approves this one, they would approve the next one.
But if we're going to do that down the road, why not leave the macadam, the asphalt there so they don't have to lay down new asphalt to make handicap parking?
Well, maybe there are
It's gonna be
better
porous.
alternatives than
Mm.
asphalt.
But
This
Yeah,
is,
the
this is
asphalt's bad.
this is not impervious,
Right.
pavement. This is
No.
all
It's-
pervious.
Yeah. which
Right,
is-
Yes.
and we have lots of, I
the
mean,
pavement is coming, the asphalt is coming up.
I mean,
Yeah.
right, right.
And whatever's underneath it will be dealt with, and it'll become a walking path of nothing but, hey, the water gets to go through.
I think the material that we've recently seen at, right across from my street, Nancy, I keep forgetting, is an asphalt-like permeable material. And it walks exactly like asphalt. It is particles, and it stays in place.
So what's
And
done,
water
was,
can
what
drain.
that Lopes walking trail reconstituted?
It could be. I don't know.
I would
that.
be very concerned that whatever is there that is able to be permeable could easily be washed away when the tides come up. So I have to be very concerned at the material he's planning to put there and how he plans to keep it there. Because it will move when that tide comes up.
Well, what I heard was they have to do an inventory of the size sand that's there to match it.
That's for the beach.
Right.
Not
So
for
that
the
part of-
walking
Part
trail.
of this is restoration towards the water. But they're also talking about working on the other end where the
It's-
old boat ramp is
Right,
too.
right.
That's not part of this.
No.
I understand,
No.
but your concerns are going beyond this plan.
Well, yeah, and to the point that there has been a plan from an engineer as to what to do around that middle parking lot and that illegally built, what do you call it, illegally built bridge that was illegally built, not set to code or anything like that. And there's a plan to redo that whole area around the parking lot on the south end of the playground. That hasn't happened. So that's still work in progress.
Whose plan is that?
Derek's, we have an engineering plan.
Oh.
It's
but-
come before conservation approved, but there's been no funds allocated to do what he wants to do
Okay.
around that parking lot and the lower end of the playground.
To your point, there's other things planned for that entire area.
Right.
There's at
Yes.
least one that you have in front of you in conservation. They're talking about the other end of the property, the boat ramp, doing some work down there.
I've seen nothing on that.
I know, that Derek said, we're working on
Right.
phases.
But there's not, if this pathway will not have sand on it, will it?
I don't know.
I don't believe so, but I don't know for sure.
But they have to do a sieve report to make sure we use the right granules to
Right.
replenish the beach. But I see nothing here about replenishing the beach in this plan. He talked about it, but I don't see it on this,
The diagram.
You wouldn't be able to do it for the amount of money that they're asking for anyway.
No.
So I would have to assume that it's not.
I don't know what type of beach nourishment he's planning there, because there's nothing,
I don't
Is-
think there's a huge amount of, I mean, part of it was to determine what is the most appropriate to use for base material,
for the
for
walkway.
areas, yeah, but we talked about, you know, what's going on with the beach, but there's a lot more to reclaiming beach sand.
And historically, any nourishment of a beach could very well disappear one storm later.
Right.
So that's a waste of time and money to put sand down.
Well, I guess that depends on, you know, where you live, and they do it all over, everywhere.
Yeah, if we have somebody coming for conservation.
Personally, I agree
Who
with you,
did
but
his year ago,
they do
and
it
he has to
everywhere.
do it again, and okay, if you wanna come up with your $60,000 every year,
Yeah.
but that
They're
stuff is
doing
going
it in
over the
Sandwich
wash.
right now.
Hmm?
They're doing it in Sandwich right now.
Yes, they are, big time.
They've been doing
And-
it
Trying to
sandwich
save the
for
homes.
years.
For a lot, for,
And every other beach
Yeah.
community in the country.
right.
That's just the nature of
And
the beast.
one storm and it's gone.
So,
But the
but to
boulders-
answer your question about, you know, what happens when there's a storm, same thing that happens to everything else that's here,
Right.
including the homes and everything else.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if that were the case, no one would build or live anywhere near the ocean, but yet we all do.
Because that's what happens when you live by the ocean.
And that's what the state of Massachusetts will not allow them to build back anymore if they lose. But that's another issue. But I don't see anything here about showing a restoration of a beach. I know he talked about it, but I
don't think
can't
it's
see
We
it.
talked about
I
it.
don't,
As it is, and I agree with Sam, he needs to ask for at least two. If he's only asking for 175, and he needs a contingency of,
30%.
well, I mean, that would be nice, but
But, no, but that's what your standard would be, if it's,
Yeah.
but a
But he didn't
contingency.
give us a budget, did he?
Well, doesn't the engineer have something?
He did, I
to
mean,
say?
he
You
didn't
know,
break
or
it
not?
down.
I guess he was just trying to, you know,
Bring him
he's
along for the
afraid
ride.
to make it too much or something, I don't.
It's not clear who put the budget together, whether it was Derek's number or whether it was the
Yeah,
engineering.
just a number out of the, as opposed to the components of, what does
Sound-
it take to remove this?
Sound like a safe number is what it struck me as. So I don't disagree, I mean, if we're going to,
Well, they said they would come back and
they did, and I think,
represent a number.
and,
But our
So-
problem is,
yeah, so what's,
Time.
guess when the articles are due? The 21st.
Yep.
When is our next meeting? The 22nd. So we really have
We have
to,
made motions over the amount all the time.
I don't mean that, but we are up against, we don't have another meeting
I agree.
before we
I
have to
agree
submit our
100%.
articles. Okay, I have no problem going up to 200.
Well, we can put stipulations on whatever we agree to too, like, make it clear that this doesn't include beach restoration or whatever else we wanna say, but,
That would have to be part of the article.
Right, I think we're,
I think,
You know, I'm just-
that's outside of our
just
scope.
saying, if it's unclear,
Yeah, that's outside of our scope.
but I don't see anything in here, so we're certainly not approving something that's not in here.
Mhm.
all right, let's, if we can, hold that thought, and if we want
Go
to
to
do
the
that,
next
we'll,
one.
we'll make that part of the motion, you know, if we choose to approve it. Hammond School, third item, final item. Again, this is a proposal that is specific to evaluating the Hammond School.
No different than what we're doing for town hall.
Correct.
Correct.
Exterior evaluation.
Right.
Yep.
And this, but this is, I mean,
Exactly.
we just did the roof couple of years ago, so the roof has been done, but everything, this includes everything else, interior and exterior.
No, interior.
This doesn't do it.
Evaluation of the exterior walls, windows, and roof of the building. Only interior, it says,
Yeah, it's an envelope assessment,
yes,
It's an envelope
outside.
assessment, okay.
Yeah,
which is well needed, cause
Right.
Yep.
they could come back and say, you know, it's gonna cost, this
$2
much
million.
money, and everybody's gonna be like, well, that's way too much, is it worth it?
Right.
But at least we'll know.
Right.
okay.
It's a good use of money. I think my off issue, but town needs to take care of the buildings they have better than they have been.
Oh, that goes for every
Exactly.
year.
And sell the ones we're not using.
Mhm.
And it won't be CPA money
No.
that is used to rehabilitate the building. This is just simply funds.
It might
for-
be,
It might
it
be,
might
probably
be, but we
won't.
need to know what it's
Old
gonna
enough.
cost.
It's old enough.
Yeah, it might be, but, that's a stretch for historical purposes, that's
Okay,
for
I
sure.
found my money, so I know what we have available. You ready for it?
Okay,
Available undesignated, 2.3 million is all we have available in undesignated.
How much is in the,
Open space? $3,900.
So, play devil's advocate.
Let me, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
keep going. What are the other two? Three.
Historic preservation, we have 506,000. So to me, there's no issue with the historic preservation in Hammond being 60,000. But we're looking at 1.4 million for open space between the Swiss Beach and the River Walk,
Which would come out of undesignated.
which it's
Darren
only
had put-
2.3 million.
Originally, historic preservation under for Hammond School.
Yes, I put it there. That's where I'm putting it.
Yeah, that's-
Hammond School is historic preservation.
Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry,
No,
you
you're not
put it on the
Swiss-
Swiss Beach
You
one.
put
Yeah,
on
he-
the Swiss Beach as
He
well.
cut and paste wrong.
Right.
You put historic preservation.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, the 60,000 can easily be taken out of historic preservation reserve. To take the 1.4 million out of our undesignated
Leaves us with a balance of $900,000 with,
And more coming in.
Well,
No, what makes you think we got more coming in?
every tax year,
But here's an example. I'm estimating $1.2 million coming in from FY '25. The state matching has dropped down to
oh, yeah,
almost nothing.
right, but we still,
but-
but,
Based on what we had to pay for our Tremont Nail and Little Harbor debt, we only have 250,000 left over FY '25 if we make our estimate of 1.2 million. So that's only $250,000. So by the time we're done taking out this 1.4 million, we may have 1.1 million left.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's
So if
fine.
something like,
For
what
doing the
happens
right
if someone
thing
came
for the
along and says,
town.
hey, you can buy Faring Hill?
then we would,
As little.
then
we
we would
bonded.
entertain a bond like we
Right.
have done in the past.
That's why we have a
We
good
wouldn't
bond.
bond for anything, a significant amount of money, you know, but,
With the money we know is coming in from the tax bill,
yeah,
we would have
$250,000.
no problem getting a loan or a bond or anything.
I think if we had something that attractive, we would
I
get.
mean, didn't we,
I mean,
didn't we borrow for the golf course against the, preservation funds? I mean, we
I
borrowed
have no
that.
idea how Mr. Foster made that
I think
happen.
that's how he did it. I think he leveraged his borrowing capacity against
His
So-
borrowing capacity right now is almost unlimited.
unlimited.
We have a great financial handle.
Well, do you wanna borrow money for River Walk?
No, I
No,
want,
no, I
I
don't
want,
need you.
I want to spend the money that's available to us, which we know in the box. If we reach that emergency situation,
then
then
we
we
do.
deal with it as an emergency
That's it.
situation.
I don't know if you heard the same thing, but there's a movement out there.
To scrap CPC totally
Well,
and
they
completely.
can't while they're
Right.
being bonded.
We need to spend the money on things that we know are gonna help the town,
Yeah.
and this is a big one.
Right,
That's something, we need to lower our funds, honestly,
we need to get a lower balance of funds
exactly.
consistently,
Cause
We can always get more
some-
money.
someone produces them saying that we're only gonna take CPC down to 1%, we don't have enough to pay our debts.
well,
They
I
would
would still, I
legally.
mean,
But
it's
in
gotta
to-
go all
but
through
in to-
the
but in-
process,
Yeah.
right?
There's
in
enough support.
Yes.
in today's political world, if you don't show significant return on funds like this, then you're gonna get a vote that is gonna go to 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't understand the value of having that kind of balance rolling
Right, and we're
forward.
proving by spending that money that we need that money in our bank account so we can take it to this type of 20 acres, saving this, doing Riverwalk, doing Swift Beach, doing what we do. I mean, Lopes just came along and we said yes, because we have the funds, we have more coming in, and we're in great shape. I don't think we need to have as much money on hand as we do. I think that's dangerous.
Better to have
I
great
think that's bad
programs
money
than lots of
management.
money.
I agree
For
100%.
this kind of, because the only reason that this fund exists is to give it away for useful things. This
To
is not-
benefit the town.
This is absolutely not a fund
in
that
and
we
out.
should build up.
Right.
It should go flat, as close to flat as we feel comfortable making it, every single funding period.
And I
Because-
think we're doing
Because
that.
because of the surcharge. I don't care what the state gives us, because of the surcharge, we're gonna get $1 million a year, just because of the straight surcharge. So if we don't figure out how to spend $750,000 of that, then we're not doing our job. We're not
I agree
promoting
100%.
this the way we should.
And it'd be a
Yeah,
lot
if we-
harder to close CPC down or push
That's-
to 1%.
That worries me a lot.
It does. Because then we
it's like-
really are back to a point where we can't solve even little problems
Right.
without borrowing money. And that's very restrictive, what we choose to borrow money for. Because then, I mean,
And the town's doing the same thing.
right,
This town is in great financial shape. We can borrow any amount we want. We have a ton of free cash to the point we can say, yeah, we're looking at 600,000 to buy that, not a problem. We have a fully funded capital plan. We have a stabilization fund that's awesome. Free cash that we're able to do what we want to do when we need to do it. So I think the town is in great, honestly, the town's in probably the best shape it's ever been in. We've solved all the problems from that bad days. We finally paid all those debts down. We have money in the bank, and the town's in
Not
great
being
shape.
sued.
I don't care what Alan says. The town's in great shape.
and I think,
Him and Judy got drive me nuts.
and I think Derek knows it. I think Derek understands
I
that
agree.
fiscally. He has worked really hard
Yep.
to get us to this point. I think he totally understands it. And that's why we're seeing, you know, Derek didn't blink at Lopes. He hasn't, the only thing he blinked on is he wouldn't agree to doing a board-in-place surface because he's scared to death that he's gonna have
Well,
floods.
no, but he gave in to us, which is huge.
He did, he gave into that, and
And he also set precedent that I made sure he understood. And if something else comes along with the same situation, there's precedent to spend money on that type of project.
Right.
And I'm not saying there is one.
Since we've already done 3 playgrounds already,
I know.
Right.
Is it
I don't consider Lopes of precedence, it's the 4th out of, it's the
Well,
4th.
it's the dollar amount. He
state?
it, 2 years ago, he would have freaked out at $750,000.
So that's for 2 projects, so, yeah.
Well, it's $650, he would have freaked out,
Yeah.
$250 was his max.
But you know, you're capital planning, we're in great shape. I don't care what Alan and Judy say, we're in great shape as a town.
I don't know, I've seen some
But then
numbers that
there's the
scare the
sewer
hell.
problems, right?
I've seen some numbers that scare the hell out of me.
Well, but that's because if you look down 30 years, then you have to be scared of any capital plan, because that's the
Well,
nature, that's
we're
the
solving
nature
the
of
big
it.
problems right now, Swift Beach
Um,
was a huge
All
problem.
right, so,
Okay, we're off.
so let's, that's enough debate.
Yep.
I will entertain motions, a motion on the Wareham Land Trust.
Will we accept the application?
Will we accept the application as presented?
Yep.
Did you make a motion on that?
Yeah.
Second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to accept the application from Wareham Land Trust. All those,
For the amount,
for the amount of $1.2 million. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
right,
Unanimous.
Unanimous, 5-0. Town of Wareham, Swifts Beach. I think the first order of business is to take a motion on the amount, because the amount that's presented
I
is
make a
what?
motion to accept the grant for a cost of $200,000.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept a application from the town of Wareham for Swifts Beach for $200,000.
So moved.
And a second, vote, all those in favor
Aye.
of accepting?
Aye.
5-0-0. Third, town of Wareham, Hammond School, this is for the building evaluation, that was $60,000?
Correct.
For the amount of $60,000. Any, no further discussion, motion?
So moved.
And seconded,
Aye.
all those in favor of accepting the application?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Okay,
Now it's funding source.
okay. Wareham Land Trust.
No,
Open space.
open space only has $3,900 in it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
Undeclared.
Undesignated.
It's undesignated, right word. So you make me say it.
Category of open space.
So that is,
Undesignated funds, category of open space,
so that was 1.2 million.
1.2 million.
And Wareham the Swifts Beach, is recreation? Do we have?
That's also
No.
under.
No, so
Open
that's gotta be
space.
open space.
Undesignated
Undesignated,
category and
right.
open space.
And, town of Wareham, Hammond School,
Historic.
historic preservation, what do we have in the balance on that?
We could do it from the Historic Preservation Reserve.
Okay.
For 60K.
Yep, okay.
So I make a motion that those three, I make a motion on those three, that we approve the spending in those categories.
A second?
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the 3 grant applications. And I'll repeat it. What are the famous bells in France that,
She can't find her phone, it's ringing.
so I don't know whether you, I don't know whether you have this, Sherby, that so what we approved at 500 is $1.2 million in undesignated for Wareham Land Trust, $200,000 in undesignated funds for Wareham Swift's Beach, and $60,000 from Historic Preservation Reserve for Hammond School.
Great, and that was Sandy moved and
Yes, 500 for all.
who seconded?
We can go through
We
these
don't have to.
pretty quick, the remaining items on the agenda pretty quickly. I don't think we have the status of any grant agreements for new projects. I don't think we have any, do we?
We never completed them,
Right,
but this is a pending grant agreement that is missing Mr. Sullivan's signature.
You just walked by twice.
didn't stick his head in, no.
I'm going to give this to you, this is for Sixth Chapel.
Yep,
They have completed their documentation, and we haven't completed, that means Mr. Sullivan's signature on that for Sixth Chapel.
There's a pending application from the Wareham Historic Society for a study, updated study on the.
Historical Society?
Yes. For updated study on the Fearing Tavern. But it's not completed, so.
That's gonna be difficult
We're
since
not
they've never put up the, HPR's been outstanding for how many years, so we haven't gotten an HPR in that building.
But aren't they supposed to change the bylaws?
That,
Yep, that's a whole separate,
that's another whole subject. I just wanted, we talked, Historical Society talked
Years.
about it, but never been voted on in Historical Society.
for a grant?
I've never,
No, yeah, we did.
what meeting did I miss? We talked about it, but never voted on it.
Oh, well, okay. That aside, it's not completed, so before the deadline, I highly doubt it would be done.
The deadline
Is
for
there-
fall town meeting is the second Tuesday in July. That's your target.
That should be
That-
enough time to get something there.
that's the semi-hard, somewhat soft
Yeah,
target.
it would be well within the budget constraints that we currently have funds for.
Okay. Okay. Nothing else on that. Grantee payments, you got anything new on that?
I gave Patrick 6 Chapel Lane
Right, so we signed off on 4
to get,
bill payments.
we have payments for, sorry. We finally have $56,000 for a grant that was I'll try again. In spring 2010, we have a $60,000 Affordable Housing Trust grant that we are using $56,000 for, which is paying the rental assistance of $1,000 a unit for 56 units at Woodland Cove. We've got a grant payment for 4 Agawam units. Their balance is only $373, and they're used all of it, so that will be zeroed out for the Agawam units. We've got money, $30,000 for 801 Main Street for some of their pre-construction cost. We've got money requested for Bayview Park.
Yep.
And so 6 Chapel Lane is beginning to ask for their, is asking for their money, because I think next week they'll have the housing restriction completed on it.
Okay?
Awesome.
Awesome. Any items from, anything else in prior CPC meetings anyone wants to bring up?
What we do need to do is get the grant requests, the grants done.
The grants done and the
Been on my-
agreements, and the agreements
Agreements
before
worked
them,
on.
right.
It's been on my to-do list, but it sort of it fell below Bryant Farm, and Bryant Farm's
That's
near
been
the
a while
bottom.
ago,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
You and I should, let's set up a time to talk and see what, all those that we need to get done, and
Well, there would
See if
be,
we can-
I think there's 4.
I think there are 4 grants, and.
What we're talking about is 6 Chapel, well, we got, no,
No,
6 Chapel.
That's done.
Westgate Viewing, Marco Vista. No, there's something else happening.
right, so let's just set aside some
Oh, yeah.
time.
Lopes, Damien's, Weevantic Corridor,
Right, those are the ones that
and
I,
Town Hall, and
yes.
East School. East School wants their money,
Yeah, they've spent a lot of money. Okay, so let's just,
but they want
could-
historic preservation, that's not, we don't do historic preservation restrictions. The emails went back and forth saying, Sandy, do we have anything for them? And we don't do the HPRs. They have to do it themselves, and once they have one in place, we can release our money.
Does
Okay.
everybody know how to do those? Seems like we always, the HPRs.
Well, it's up to the organization who
to
wants the
find
money.
somebody to take it.
They're unpleasant to put together.
It's just like, that's for sure.
I have one item under number 8, and I'm just bringing this up as information. In going over, the committee rules that are in place, that select board worked very hard at creating this exhaustive document, about what we're all supposed to do as committee members. It's actually worth reading. I would encourage everybody to take a look at it, just so you have, if you thought you knew what you're supposed to do, you probably are missing some of the things you're supposed to do.
Every committee.
So,
Every
but,
single committee is different.
right, but,
Every, I mean, I
but,
could go on and on.
Right,
My
but-
wife and I have this conversation many times.
right, but this is trying to create some level of standard. It's not a perfect document, there are still lots and lots of gaps in it. But I pointed out something which I've advised, I talked to members of the committee about, and I've advised Rich Bowen and Judith about, which is 4.1, section 4.1, identifies records that must be retained. And one of the things that must be retained, so we do a very good job, Sherby does a great job of getting the minutes and the agenda, the minutes and the agendas are posted on the town website. The other thing that it appears we need to also post somewhere, and that's the question right now, is every application.
Here's a good one, 41 pages of
Yes,
flying to the cloud. No,
Right.
no.
and that's because that's our business. We review applications. We telecast that review. So these are official documents. So we need
The whole package.
the
Yeah.
entire thing that we consider.
Somebody makes a FOIA request, it goes to Patrick, and he's gotta come up with the documents.
Exactly, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that, and I talked to internal people here, because they have history, and I don't know, I guess we could. And so the answer, pending right now, there's gonna be more discussion, is, well, it's the committee's fault, they need to put it on the cloud. So now we're defining what cloud are we talking about, and which documents we're talking
Speak
about.
with Matt.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know how to do this. But it's the question. It's a process question. Is because we have two things. We have what and where, and by saying put it out to the cloud, it's whose cloud are we talking about, because it has to be the town's cloud.
Yes.
And therefore, the town has to create an index so that you can recover all of that, and it's easily recovered. They just can't throw it out there. So there's a fair amount of work that IT needs to do to create a process. And then who has responsibility for getting that up there into the cloud? Because that's, you know, that's if you have to give it to IT, you have to give it with specific instructions, what it is, where it is, how it's referenced. So there's a lot of
So
work.
we really need to work out of our webpage to put down the list of each one of the grant requests by town meeting and have that become a link to whatever is
To
supposed.
something,
Yes.
That's a way to do it.
That's
but
one way to do
It
it.
has not been defined.
right,
And to your
Well,
and that's
point,
what I'm saying.
this group and every other group in town has the same issue.
Exactly.
Well, Conservation
Everything-
does it now.
Who posts it to where?
I go on to a agenda,
Mm-hmm.
I click on the name of the, hearing, and I get it. I don't know how I do it, somebody does it for me.
Planning
So-
does the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Planning does
but-
it too.
that means that the IT department has,
There's
Some-
a way.
That was created by Josh and Carl.
okay, so we just have to, that's great, that's good to know, because that just means that it's been done, so now we have to more broadly,
Expand the scope to include us.
yes, and with instructions, so we all know. But, so we as a committee have been very, very bad, because we haven't been doing that, but no one really told us we had to do that until 2023, when we have the new specifications. So, that's
In the
something,
old days, they were huge, there was a big filing process with NAN.
We have
Remember
3
that?
file cabinets
Stuffed
downstairs.
in behind the elevator there.
They're stuffed in behind the elevator and you
even
can't
get at
get to
them.
them because everything's been piled in front of them. So we can't even put our minutes in it. I can't even put a record of what bills we've paid in it because I can't get the doors open.
right. So,
The town really cares about stuff.
so anyway, I raise that, that's something we all need to be thinking
And would
about.
the town warrant justify that? I mean, all of our projects are there on the warrant's online.
No, because that's a synopsis.
What
It's,
about your
it's
report?
not technically what you're considering.
Well,
No, it is
CP,
technically.
No.
CP3 is available to the
Legally,
state.
it references something else, because it is what you're voting on, but someone could easily say, that's part of what you have in discussion, right, legally? You know, that if someone wanted to say, I
I changed the dollar amount.
right,
Down.
this is wrong. This is not I'm the applicant, then we would be in trouble.
But if it's amended on town meeting floor, it's included in the vote.
But the grant is not amended on town meeting floor. The article could be amended.
The regulation, the 4.1, if you go to 4.1, is very clear. It's not equivocal, and I kind of pressed Bowen on this, Mr. Bowen on this, and it's absolutely clear.
Okay.
So, if there's no other business, yep, I'm sorry.
Just to circle back on Marks Cove Vista, and I sent an email to you and to Sandy and the committee saying that there will be no more requests for reimbursement for that project from the land trust.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I can return the 130-some odd thousand.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're well, no, thank you for bringing it up. I thought that had already been done.
Thanks. Next, I don't know why I put 12, February 12th. It's
Yeah, I
not
noticed
this one.
that.
Thank you. So what is that? That is 1926, right? The 26th?
26th of Feb.
February 26th is the next meeting?
That's going back to the open space reserve, so I have
Oh.
more than 3,000 in my open space reserve.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Can I a second on that?
Second.
Motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor?
7:16.
7:15. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0. Thank you very much. Great meeting, good discussion.
Die Presso Liber.